Call to order the meeting of City of Longview Planning and Zoning Commission for February 18th, 2014. Please stand and we'll say the invocation. Lord, our Father in heaven, please be with us this evening as we endeavor to conduct our meeting in peace, reason, and logic. Please be with our community and state during this season as we choose leadership positions. Thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed on our community and nation. Please be with our troops in the field as they defend our freedom and liberty. All these things we pray in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for a pledge of allegiance to our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, let me get my list here. Next item, approval of the January 21st, 2014 Planning and Zoning minutes. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Having none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Let's see, the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are plats that meet the requirements of the City of Longview subdivision ordinance. These items will be approved with one vote unless any member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, any member of the public, or the applicant would like an item removed from the consent and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. Having said that, we have two items on the consent agenda. Any commissioner wish to remove an item from the consent agenda to the regular agenda? Anyone from the public? Do I have a motion?
Move we approve the consent agenda. Second.
Having a motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. The purpose of this meeting is to hear all pertinent testimony of those in support of and in opposition to the applications before the board. Tonight is the first of two public hearings required to approve a change in zoning. The board also considers plats. The procedure for public hearing items to be followed tonight will be: the public hearing will be opened and testimony will be heard in the following order: the applicant, staff, and the general public, those in support and in opposition to the request. If you are part of a large group with a common interest, we ask that you appoint a spokesperson rather than have each individual restate the same information. When addressing the board, please begin by stating your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes. When all sides have spoken, the public hearing on the matter will be closed and no further public discussion will be entertained. After each public hearing is closed, the board will vote on the request. Zoning request and the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation will go forward to the second public meeting, which will be conducted by the City Council on March the 13th, 2014. So, regular agenda. Item A. A public hearing will be held to consider application HL 14-01 filed by the City of Longview requesting a local historic landmark designation for a structure known as the T&P/Mopac Train Depot located at 905 Pacific Avenue. Who here represents this request?
Represent the request. Thank you, Mr. Wood. As stated, we are requesting a historic landmark designation. As you may remember, a couple of years ago, we had amended the zoning ordinance to include a section for historic preservation, which in turn created a Historic Preservation Commission. One of their duties is to recommend landmarks and districts for local designation as they relate to to the ordinance as far as status for culturally significant and other criteria for designation and Part of the process is for them to make recommendation. In turn, they send that recommendation to Planning and Zoning Commission for review and recommendation, and then ultimately to City Council for final approval. This is just the second step in that process, and this is our first designation that's been considered and recommended. So it's a landmark in of itself for that. As you may be aware, the city is in the process of a major renovation of the TMP depot. Hopefully we'll be completed and unveiling that in May during our Train Day celebrations, the same weekend in conjunction with Alley Fest. And we hope if Commission approves and Council approves the designation to unveil the local landmark at that time. As you can see here, the locational map, this is the depot off of Mobberly. This is also an integral component of our future multimodal compound, our multimodal center. This is the depot here, and actually Union Pacific owns the property. The city owns the depot itself. The city has our transit facility that we operate out of, our offices and bus. And also Greyhound has recently relocated in this side of the building. So we're just working that much closer to this becoming the multimodal center. But as you know, and I'm not going to read all of the history here, it's in the packet, and if you'll have questions, I'll try to answer them. But, you know, railroad has been a very important component of Longview. It's one of the bases of our foundation since the 1870 when it came through. The current depot, as we're talking about, began construction in 1939 and was completed in 1940. It was designed in a colonial revival style. And part of one of the things that staff has been doing also is to submit for state designation as a recorded Texas historical landmark. We did receive notification that has been preliminarily approved. They're just awaiting going through the process of actually designing the marker. We have paid the fee, so it's pretty official. As far as the criteria for local designation, one of those criteria is if it's a RTHL or even a National Register property, then it meets our criteria. Excuse me. It also meets several other criteria due to its historical, its economic, architectural, and cultural significance. We do recommend approval based on those, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any commissioners have questions for staff? Having none, the public hearing is now open for application HL 14-01. Who present wishes to speak in additional support of this request? Who present wishes to speak in opposition to this request? Having none, the public hearing for application HL 14-01 is now closed. Do I have a motion?
Motion approval of the application.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Item B, a public hearing will be held to consider application Z 14-02 filed by East Texas Building and Properties requesting a rezone from multifamily MF3 to single-family SF5 for lots 15 to 18, Block 7 of the Marshall Heights subdivision located on the northeast corner of North 3rd Street and Adams Street. Who here represents this request? If you give us your name and address, please.
My name is Michael Alston. I live at 1310 Montclair, Longview.
Mr. Alston, tell us about your project.
Well, this actually didn't know this was multifamily when we bought it because we're going to be constructing single-family residences in this street and some other lots we bought over on 2nd Street. And we did not feel it was appropriate for it to be multifamily. It's going to be single-family, and we did not want, I would not think any future use of the project to take the single-family homes that we're building and turn them into anything else. So after talking to staff, we felt it was appropriate to zone it down.
Okay. Any commissioners have questions for Mr. Alston? Having none, staff comments.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. As the applicant stated, they are requesting to rezone from multifamily 3 to single-family 5. As you can see, it is on the east side of the block. This is in an area designated as our South Longview Incentive Program, our SLIP program, and this is an area that is based on CDBG area and census tracts. It's a revitalization program that allows for various incentives such as waived building permit fees, waived water tap fees for owner-occupied single-family new construction. And in reviewing the application for that, as the applicant stated, it just makes sense to go ahead and downzone that so that you don't have issues in the future where the city does partner in an investment there for single-family owner-occupied redevelopment, and down the road somebody takes advantage of that, of the zoning, and converts it into duplexes or some sort of multifamily project. So it's just making it consistent with the actual use. We do feel that that's very appropriate. The future land use map does designate this area for low-intensity business. But looking at the surrounding area, there is still quite a few single-family homes. And since it is one block off of 4th Street, staff doesn't feel like this area is, at the time being, redeveloping into a business scenario that is still very much single-family and neighborhood-oriented. So we feel this is in line with that, and we do recommend approval.
Any commissioners have questions for staff? Hearing none. The public hearing is now open for application Z14-02. Who present wishes to speak in additional support? Who present wishes to speak in opposition to this request? Having none. The public hearing is now closed for application Z14-02. Do I have a motion?
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Item C, a public hearing will be held to consider application Z14-03 filed by Rodney Riley requesting a rezone from agricultural to single-family for approximately 0.50 acres of the William Robinson Survey, Abstract 177, located on the south side of Darney Street, west of Standaline Street. Who here represents this request?
My name is Rodney Riley. I live at 104 Bellaterra Drive in Longview.
Mr. Riley, tell us about your project.
I bought this half acre from the gentleman that lived across the street at 50, I believe the address is 5319 Darney. It has a storage building on it that it was constructed back in the 40s, part of the oil project there, I guess. And not knowing that it was zoned agricultural, it was illegally subdivided because you're not supposed to have less than an acre. I found that out after I bought it. So I basically got a half acre of property there that I can't do anything with. So I was just trying to get it rezoned so I could build a couple of single-family residences there, or one, or whatever, just so I could do something with the property.
Okay. Any commissioners have questions for Mr. Riley?
Mr. Riley, is water and sewer available to this property?
I think so, but I've talked to Michael about that, and that he's thought this was the first step that I need to take to find out, you know, get it rezoned, and then make sure water may be a little bit of an issue, but we're going to take this step first and then go from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Riley? Having none, staff comments.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. As the applicant stated, we are requesting consideration for rezoning the property. As you can see on the zoning map, and this is where the actual legal description of the property is, doesn't quite line up with the information we get from the appraisal district. So I do apologize for that, a little bit of confusion there, but that's the reason behind that. As he stated, this was out of a larger tract of land that was owned by another gentleman. He purchased it by meets and bounds description with that existing metal garage. Probably at that time when it was constructed, this was an accessory dwelling to the residence, so it was compliant. By subdividing it off, it's no longer a secondary structure or an accessory structure. It's now a primary structure in an agricultural zoned area. It's not allowed. That's why we don't allow accessory structures on separate lots or on other parcels of land, because this kind of situation can happen where down the road they can sell it. Now you have a situation where somebody can operate a business inconsistent with the zoning. But we are looking at the future land use map. This area is all designated for low-density residential. It's designated for kind of a redevelopment. I think in the past, this area traditionally had some industrial and commercial type businesses. Let me get to the aerial. As you can kind of see, this is the old BP facility there off of Stanley. There's equipment facility here, oil and gas related. But this area is slated for redevelopment out of that. As those uses go away, it should be, based on the future land use map, converted back to more residential use. As he stated, there is the potential for issues and concerns with water and sewer, and we'll have to address those before any real development takes place. But as far as moving forward, this is one of the first steps to try to get permanent zoning, because ag zoning is a kind of a temporary zoning. Once we annex properties in, is given that designation. Also, with the ag zoning, it does require a minimum of 1 acre of lot size for development as single family. So because it's less than that, it's non-compliant on that respect also. So we're just asking for permanent single-family zoning to allow for development as single-family structures, which is not inconsistent with the uses that are around there across the street. I believe there's single-family homes already on Darney Street.
Will you flash the plat up there again, please? Okay. Any commissioners have any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Hey, one minute, we'll have comment. So, Mr. Riley, all you're trying to do is rezone it to single family, so that you can. I guess you're going to build a new structure on there, or they're not going to live in the storage unit.
No, I'll probably tear that down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would demo what's out
Yes,
there.
yes, sir.
And then what the half-acre lot? I guess a single-family home.
Yes, sir.
I guess. Okay. Any commissioners have any additional questions? Having none, do you have any more thoughts, Mr. Riley?
No, sir, that's all.
Okay, very good.
Right.
The public hearing is now open for application Z14-03. Who present wishes to speak in additional support of this request? Who present wishes to speak in opposition to this request?
I guess it's me.
Okay.
I'm John Abernathy. I represent my wife. She owns that land all around that. And the city of Longview, at their graciousness, told us Darney Street does not exist. We deeded it to the county years ago. It's a 30-foot wide street. It had a water line on it and sewer line, but a lot of problems there. You can't get a fire truck in there. You can't get ambulances in there. You can't.
But y'all deeded it to the county?
It was deeded to the county.
The right-of-way was deeded to the county?
Yeah, a 30-foot right-of-way,
Okay.
and we own land.
Because I guess it was existing.
It was existing in the county, yes. It was actually that this tract of land is the old Amoco lease. Goes back to Stanley and Amoco and BP. Of course, BP just dropped all that, you know. And they have built buildings over there. you know, and had some of their hands living in some of them and so forth, you know. And there's city said they don't take care of it. If they go in there and do any construction work, tear up the roads and all, city won't fix them. They say it doesn't exist.
Okay.
There's 3 houses there that face them. I know the old original people that had them was the Marvin Hart was one man, and Pat Darney. Pat lived to be about 90-something, and he has put a fence across the right-of-way on the road, but we still pay taxes on the road because the city says it doesn't exist. But we own a 30-foot right-of-way road
Okay.
down through there, and it's a quagmire, is what it is.
That's not that uncommon, Mr. Abernathy. There's a
Oh,
lot,
I
there's a
know.
lot of roads out there where, you know, the
yeah, I
people
know.
own to the center line of the road, but yet
Right.
it's called a prescriptive easement that,
Yeah.
it's by definition, because it's been historically and notoriously used,
Right.
and everyone knows it. So,
Right, but I mean,
it's common.
Yeah, I don't know how the people handle their trash over there. I hadn't discussed it with them. But I know down the road, the trash truck backs down into, well, I don't see the road on there right now.
Well, let's get to the housing part. I think Mr. Riley wants to build a house out there.
Well, I know, but there's a trailer sitting right on the corner. And then I don't know where his track is. It sits back further or something there. I was looking at it on here, and it's, I own the road, we own the frontage on the road there, you know, on Teneryville, the racetrack. Yeah, man, they come wide open down through there. But it's a state highway, so the city doesn't worry about the traffic on it. That's my opinion. But I've got a lot of opinions, don't amount to a whole lot probably, but it's, I knew about the 1 acre deal in the city, but I probably talked my 5 minutes over, but I just wanted to explain a lot of things there. So it's, like I say, you need to get all your ducks in a row when you're doing that, because getting a lot of trouble, the lawsuits and everything else, if we tear up the roads and don't, city says, oh, well, they're not our roads, we don't fix them. Even though they did put a water line and a sewer line down that road.
Okay.
And, let y'all hash it out. Somebody else may have something to say.
One minute, Mr.
Okay.
Abernathy. Any commissioners have questions for Mr. Abernathy?
Yeah, you mentioned the trailer. What was your concern about the trailer being on the corner?
Oh, there's a trailer sitting on the corner of well, they call it Stanley Street. Right there, it would be the excuse me, corner of Stanley. There's a trailer that is put down and boxed in around it. I hadn't been down through there in years. We used to drive all over that years ago, and before they put the trailer park in over there.
Trailer park.
But I think school buses come through there yet. But I don't know. You see, all that was under lease, a 99-year lease from the.
Michael, could you put the plat back up there, please? Thank
There
you.
was the Rodden land there was under lease for 99 years. And now we have 2 acres over there that were cut off from it. They BP or the other one, Amico, and my father-in-law negotiated and got a couple of acres, and Pat Darney had an acre across this 30-foot right-of-way.
That plat reads 20-foot right away. But
Now, you own the property directly adjacent to it, to the west, and then you're,
Yeah, I own the property in front of it. You know, let's see, where are the houses on Darney?
yes, this is the house directly across the street from the, here's the
Okay.
middle garages on their property,
Yeah,
and this is the house directly across. Now, you own the property to the north here, and then this property to the west?
yeah, to the north of, wherever 2605 is right there. It's, 2605 is on,
He lives on, that's on Tenry.
Tenryville Road, and we own the property west of it also.
At the end of Darney.
Yeah, at the end of Darney, we've got about 30 acres out there. Now, we sold that where the Granite Village subdivision is. My father-in-law sold that before he died to George Hall. And,
So, Mr. Abernathy, you're not necessarily in opposition to what he's doing out there, right? I mean,
well, if he needs to find out all about the road operation, because if they tear that road up and don't fix it, the city doesn't fix it, and the contractors tear it up. Of course, he's gonna have a lot of trees and stuff there to bulldoze up or haul off to the,
well, I think that's something, we can address.
sir?
I think that's something that can be addressed at a later date, that, there's roads all over Longview that have to be repaired from time to time. So,
Well, I know, but when they tell you that they don't own that road, what are you gonna do? They just leave you with a tore up road and say you fix it. If you're a contractor and you're cutting roads, you don't mind doing that, selling lots.
I understand, but for what we're doing this evening is,
Yeah,
we're working on the zoning this evening, and I think the road will become a separate issue later down the road.
well, but I mean, it's when you get bogged down in an old oil road that's
I understand.
wallowed out, and they're gonna have to cut water lines in there.
I
and,
understand.
It's a problem.
Any other questions for Mr. Abernathy?
If I can be of any help to any of y'all, I'll be glad to, but
Yes, sir.
oh,
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mike, good question. Mike, is that a city-maintained road or no?
Not to my knowledge.
Is
Doesn't
it
appear to
county?
be.
Is it county? It says oil road on there.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's just a private road. Now, if they did in fact deed it to the county, I'd like to have that information so we could research it further and maybe talk to the commissioner for that area.
That's what I was going to suggest, was
Because that would,
that,
if it is deeded to the county and they accepted it, then it'd be the county's responsibility. There are roads that are inside the city that when we annexed, we didn't take over the county maintenance because they were well beyond what our minimum requirements were, but there were some that we did. This one, it does not show up on our right-of-way map or our centerline map as far as something that we maintain. That's still yet to be determined, but if you're asking me today, do we maintain it? No, we don't. But before any kind of construction can occur, as you stated, those issues will have to be addressed. This is just the first step to find out if we can even build single-family on it, to go to that next step of researching the streets, water and sewer, as he stated, and very valid concerns. Those are things that are going to be in the next phase if we get the zoning. If we don't, then there's no point in
well,
moving forward with that.
let's just move one step. Let's,
I'm retarded,
Retired.
yeah, I'll be glad to show y'all anything out there. Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. But, I won't be off in there right now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Abernathy. Yes, sir.
But it's, yes, it's, whenever I got this, I thought about that and all the things that happened. And I've had to go through that when they put new water lines in. The city put new water lines in. They took their own good time before I got sewer and water, but
Okay.
I got it now.
Okay.
But,
Thank you, Mr. Abernathy.
Yeah.
Let's get to the zoning stuff tonight, and
All
then
right.
we'll work on the other later. I've kind of let us get all the cats back together here. Okay. Where are we? Any other questions from commissioners?
I have a comment, sir. I'm familiar with that. I used to live on Tennerville Road, and I agree 100% it's a racetrack. That's where I live. But at any rate, that area in there, if I'm remembering correctly, we did put water and sewer down there. I know I did on Stanland, because when I had my insurance company, we did that job down there. And I think we did on this street too. I think you're right. But I'd have to go back and check the records like you're talking about, Michael. But as far as the zoning, I see no objection to that at all. I'd be glad to do it, but when you get to that point, sir.
Okay.
I have a question for Mr. Riley.
Sure.
Mr. Riley, been a lot of talk here about the road. I'm sure that you got to have some plans or some concept of what you're going to have to do with that. And I'm just kind of interested to know what your thoughts were. If you're going to go in there and build 2 houses, what you were going to do.
If we get to the point that we get the zoning approved, I'm just trying to take the first step. I don't really have any definite, I know the only thing that I would want to do with it would be maybe build a couple of houses in there. There's 4 houses across the street. I mean, there's residents there across the street. The mobile home he's talking about is on the corner of Stanley when you come off of Tennerville Road there on the left. This is the only structure that's down in there that nobody can do anything with. All I'm asking is just to get it zoned, and then we can see if the road's going to be a problem, or if water's going to be a problem, or sewer's going to be a problem. Then I've just got a half acre of land there that, I might put up for sale for $50 or whatever, just to, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not planning on doing anything to tear up the roads or anything like that.
Well, I'm sure that whoever is the authority of that road, whether if it's the city or the county, if
Sure.
if it gets to be a hazard or impassable, they're going to come fix it.
Exactly.
So I'm not concerned about that. Any other questions?
Got somebody in the back?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Steve Griffin. I live at 5311 Darney Street, and I just have a few concerns about this single-family addition being added into this area. As stated, there is no road maintenance. There's no fire hydrants on this street, so there's no real fire protection. They'd have to run all the way up to Tennerville Road, which is quite a ways. If they did put these single-family additions in here, there'd be a lot more traffic on this road, and this road is almost nothing. It's oil dirt, it's wore out, it's been there since the county once maintained it, and then they stopped because the city annexed that area. We had to stop the garbage trucks from even coming down there. We had to carry our trash up to Stanland Street because they were tearing up the road. If construction is allowed on these houses, the road will have to be replaced. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're going to haul off a 6-story garage. There's tremendous tall timber back in there that's going to have to come down for houses to be built. The road won't stand a chance. There's only one exit out of this neighborhood. That's not good. If there was an accident or some other kind of disaster, it'd be even more people blocked in. There's been no planning or correction for that made. They're saying single family, but I'm hearing in the background maybe 1 or 2 houses else added onto this. This is more traffic on a road that's gone, that's just wore out. At this point, I'd really ask for a hold on any kind of rezoning until some things are set in concrete and that we have guarantee that we have a lot better service where we're living right now, or Darney Street will be worth nothing.
I think with more people living back there, at least another person back there, that's probably your best chance of having that road, maybe brought up to a better standard.
A year ago, I contacted this city engineer, and his assistant, and we looked into this, and they really could not come up with anything definite because the early surveys that they did were terrible. They could not make sense out of them. They were guessing at what they were telling me. They wouldn't back up anything. They basically just left it at the point where they thought that there was maybe 2 sisters out of the Houston area that owned Darney Street. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea of researching that far back. When Amoco, at that time, they added over $1 million expansion. It was written into the zoning on the rezoning of that there'd be 2 exits added to Stanlin Street. There wasn't. There was only a private one added for Amoco building itself. In the back, went out another street. It doesn't help me at all if there's a problem.
Michael, are you familiar with any of that?
Yes, and I think it was because of the distance into their parking lot for this building. And you can kind of see it on here, this little drive that wraps around. The distance into here was beyond 150 feet, which required a turnaround. There wasn't enough room to do a turnaround, but they did allow for secondary access so they wouldn't have to turn around. And so that's what that was about. Per the fire code, you can have up to 30 single-family units on a single access. And right now, Darney only has 3 or 4. So you got quite a ways to go before you have to worry about that second point. Stanland, if I'm not mistaken, goes down and connects in and has connection. It's not a dead end. So from a fire department standpoint, and I'm not the fire marshal and I'm not speaking on behalf of the fire marshal, but I don't believe that's going to be an issue. Now, talking about the surface of the street, fire hydrants and things like that, those are things that we'll have to look at
So
and
we could-
address, and we've already discussed that, looking at, because there's not a fire hydrant down there. I think the water lines are not, I want to say they're probably like 3 or 4 inch. They're not very large, but, that's something that would probably have to be extended, would be fire protection. So
Okay.
How will the truck get in and out of there?
that's something that we'll have to look at and address. We'll have to let the fire
In
marshal.
other words, if that's not a dedicated street, we can't issue a building permit for that property.
It doesn't have to be dedicated, it just has to have access, and it is, it's a prescriptive
It has
easement.
access by prescriptive easement.
That's right. They, the property owner has the right to access the property from that street. The question is, who's responsible for maintenance of the street? I don't think it's the city, don't know about the county. It's probably just like many other private streets where it's the responsibility of the adjacent property owners.
Is it a street? I mean, as we the
Yes.
city, do we recognize and acknowledge this as a street?
It is an access. It is a private street.
It is a private street.
Yes, the city does not maintain it. If it's not a city-maintained street, then it's a private street, private driveway, private access, however you want to name it. It's got a name on it, Darney Street. That's for fire department access and 911, but it is a access, best way to explain it, private street.
And we,
And this kind of, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here a little bit, but I think it's worth talking about. In that, when we're developing here in Longview, we went through a phase there where all the developers, are building these private streets and then writing that into the homeowners association. And a lot of folks don't understand that. When they move in there and that street starts coming apart, it's theirs. Now, in this case here, I don't believe that's the case, but that's just another day. That's just food for thought. We've got a lot of them out there now.
Yes.
So, any other questions? We need to take care of the zoning. That's what we're here for. Having any other questions?
No.
Statements?
Covers it for me.
Okay. The public hearing is now closed for application Z14-03. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve application Z14-03.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
aye.
Motion passes. That's staff update.
Back up, because I think they were trying to get the vote on that in the record.
It's 5 to,
I voted for it.
Okay.
head count. Okay, let's see, staff update.
I'm sorry, I was trying to get back on track. Trying to remember. Yes, the previous items at council were approved.
Excellent. Any commissioner comments? Having none, any citizen comments? Having none, this meeting's adjourned.